Darren, Spurs fan, you must be absolutely shattered emotionally after what happened there.
I am shattered. Hi guys, great show.
He does.
I didn't go. This is the first game I've missed all season because I go home and away, and I just can't believe no manager hasn't spotted the problem at Spurs. Defenders, they can't defend.
I think. Well, Antonio Conte knew. Of course he knew. He tried to play as many defenders as he possibly could and not concede goals, and got criticised for it, and rightly so, because it was boring football. Then Stellini came in, tried to change up, put 4 at the back, got annihilated in games. And today, I mean, when they equalised, Daz, in the end, I mean, I was sat here and I still wasn't confident of winning the game. I don't know how you felt.
No, I've never been confident winning a game this whole season, but we can't keep. They must at least give some of the youth players a try. They're better than what we've got now, and at least they play for the badge. Some of these players, I don't know if you saw the Harry Kane interview, but he was saying they've lost their values. No, what's lost is playing for your club. And that's the problem at Spurs. Some of these players are just paycheck players. All they care about is their paycheck. They don't care about the club.
I mean, we can hear, Darren, that you're quite emotional about this. So what is the answer? Is it a complete reset? I mean, how many of those players do you believe are good enough to get Tottenham back to where you want to be in terms of challenging for the top 4 next season?
2.
Out of the whole squad?
Out of the whole squad, because none of them... I could have Skesky, I'm reserving judgment on him, but...
Well, which 2, Daz? Which 2? The obvious 2?
The obvious 2. It is them. And that's the problem at Spurs. They've not replaced...
Name names, Darren, because some of the listeners might not, see it as obvious as you and Mr. Ambrose.
You're talking Harry Kane and Son. Okay.
I thought it was Dier and Son. Sorry, my back.
No, Dier should be in a rubbish pit.
He's winding you up, Daz.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry with one. I had to jab you, Daz. I had to jab you. Sorry,
where did you say he should be, Daz? In the rubbish tip?
He should be in a rubbish tip. He hasn't been good at Spurs since we've had him. He's rubbish.
Daz, I can feel. I feel. Listen, the worst thing is I feel your pain. I was like that when it was 3-3. Listen, I feel your pain. The question we asked is: has Ryan Mason done enough? Would you give the job to Ryan Mason next season?
I would, because I don't think what manager you get in there until we sort out that back 4 and the goalkeeper, because Lloris has been great for Spurs, but he's past his best. And until we sort out that position, we're back to where we were in the 80s, where we used to turn up when the FA Cup came around. And I've been going since 1980. The first game I ever saw was when Ricky Villiers scored that wonderful goal.
Wow, first game, love that.
And I've been going. I have to put up with my girlfriend who's an Arsenal fan, and
what are you doing?
How have you allowed that to happen?
Come on, Daz.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you, brother.
There's certain rules, Darren. There are rules, aren't there?
You gotta let it go, brother. You gotta let it go.
You can't help you fall in love with it.
It's true. My missus is
That's
United.
That's what I say about Spurs, to be honest.
My missus is United. Trust me, I know.
Brilliant, Darren. Thanks for the call. Some really good points made there. Ezzy is also a Spurs fan. I think, Ezzy, you want to pay a bit of tribute to Ryan Mason despite the defeat.
Yeah, well, I think he really deserves a lot of credit for what he's done today. But I think the overriding point is I could not agree with you more. Even when we equalised, even when we come from 3 goals down, I'm just not confident that we're going to retain the draw. And I just could see, I don't know what Lucas Moura is doing, to be honest. He's got no luck at Merseyside or on the other side of town. I mean, look, lots of Spurs fans will be completely depleted after this. I mean, so am I. It's horrible to watch. You could just see it unfolding. But I'm not sure whether Ryan Mason deserves... I mean, he certainly deserves some praise for what he's done today. Whether he deserves the job, I think he's got to prove that he's a winner, because although Conte and Mourinho, they play this horrible defensive football, we wouldn't be scared of keeping them in because they're proven winners. Ryan Mason, I'm not so sure. He took over 2 years ago as well. We let him have until the end of the season. And then we went with Nuno again, who was another sort of interim manager. So there's a lot of talk about a long-term strategy. I think Ryan Mason, certainly, he's got the club in his best interests. I think you could see that today. I don't know what Klopp was doing with all his antics on the sideline. And there's also
we call it passion. We call that passion, brother. Say that.
Yeah, passion, exactly. And I think there's also the question where the Jota should be on the pitch, but that's for another day, to be honest. But yeah, I think...
Yeah, I mean... Ezzy is a great point, because I've seen a still shot of that incident.
No, it ain't a great point.
No, it is.
Ezzy ain't a great point. But to be fair, I actually did like... No, I did like... I actually did... Oh, sorry, Ezzy, you're still there. Sorry, mate. Go on, Ez.
No, so I was saying, what do you think is the main takeaway from today, then?
Well, as you're saying, you've got to give credit to Ryan Mason for getting Spurs back into the game, but you're conceding 3 early on again. The players have to take responsibility. I don't see too many of them taking responsibility. We see in the Newcastle game only 5 players going up to applaud the supporters. I just think there needs some real, some team meetings, some leaders in the changing room, and I don't see many of those. That's what I think needs to change, Ez.
For sure, but I also think you have to factor in that's part of the modern game now. All this changing shirts at full time, which we saw, and I know they attracted a lot of criticism for that, but I think 100%. We've got to sit down and form a long-term strategy, and potentially a lot of criticism for Daniel Levy. But when you've just scored 3 goals, I think ultimately it's down to the players. You've got to have a bit of bottle about yourselves, not to go and concede, what is it, no more than 60 seconds later. Yeah. I mean, it was the absolute epitome of a Tottenham Hotspur performance, as Gary Neville analysed it correctly for once. But there you go. It's horrible, but... I think
he's having a little pop at Gary Neville now.
Good.
Ezzy, cheers for your call. Keep them coming. 03717 22 33 44. Lots of Liverpool fans getting in touch to suggest the top 4 is back on 4 wins in a row. 5 quite winnable fixtures for Liverpool between now and the end of the season as well. Tell you what, Bayo, as Darren Ambrose will testify, it's the hope that kills you.